In order to use this library, the mqt.js, it tells us here that you need to run npm install mqtt then double dash save. So this is to include it in our node library or the npm. But for our activity here, you don't need to do this because on my part I already performed the installation, so the npm install, and after I install this one, I also implemented the recommendation here, which is to use the Browserify module. So, so what is Browserify? Um, it will allow you to create or to make a bundle and make it as a standalone module. So here, what it did is it installed the Browserify, and then on the MQTT, he installed all the dependencies, the dev dependencies of this library of MQTT, and after that he ran the Browserify MQTT.js, and which basically it will create or generate this browser MQTT.js. So now if we go to our code, so this is now the library or the code I created from the resources, or if you check it out, if you have already cloned this one. So this is now that project, and then after I clone this, um, I executed the instruction here to browserify or to make um, to build the MQTT.js as a standalone module. So if we go back to my code here under the node modules, so this is the MQTT library. If we click that one, inside it we have the browser MQTT.js. So this is the result of executing the browserify. So after I did it one, this browser MQTT.js, I copied it outside of the node modules. So that's why we have this here, the browser MQTT.js. So in this implementation or in our code right now, we will just use this, or we will refer to this library in building our MQTT client. So if we check on the index.html, um, so here in the scripts, I just called it as one of the source, the browser mqtt.js, and I have another file, the index.js. So this is where we will implement our mqtt functions. So for this file, index.html, this is just a basic HTML page, and I just added the Bootstrap CDN so that when we make our design, or it will add some styling on our code. But I also created index.css if we need to make our own design or styles for the CSS. So that's the index.html, and then this is the index.js. So now for the output of this code, this is the output page. Um, by the way, how I run this one is in the index.html. If you right click and then you click the open with live server. So I am using the live server on that one. But if you cannot see this open with live server in your end, you'll need to go to the extensions, and you search for this one. Search for the live server excuse, by retweetd. So you need to at least install this one. So on my end, it's already installed. That's why it appears as an install. But if you don't have that one, so you need to install that so that you can run the page or the index.html with a live server. So that's why here you can see that it's now running, and I can now display my page. So moving back, so all our functionalities are implemented here in the index.js, but for the HTML aspect or the template, we are implementing it here on the index.html. So you can see here, I have input, I have the header MQTT, I have the input, and then I have a publish button. So I implemented all of them here on the index.html. But as for the functionalities, as to accepting the input, and also for the bot click, whenever I click this publish button, I implemented them here in the index.js. So this is that one. Now, as for the code here for my index.js, I just actually copy the code, sample code in this in the MQTT.js library. So here, this is the library, or I mean the sample code. I just copied it in my code here, but I made some modification from here. So this one, instead of requiring MQTT, uh, it's no longer needed because we just implemented the browser MQTT.js. And then here, I declare now the client by just connecting it, MQTT.connect, to the broker. So this is now the broker that we are connecting to. Now, if you notice, here, we have MQTT, then test.mosquito.org, and then, but instead of just using this um, MQTT slash testmosquito.org, I am using the WSS. So, um, I am using the WebSocket, the secure WebSocket, in connecting to the broker because we'll be using this one, especially if we want to deploy it online, like the GitHub page. Um, we, we will not, we will have trouble if we will just using the MQTT, the pure MQTT. But here we are using MQTT, but on the WebSocket side and also on the secure line. So this will prepare us if we will want to deploy this on the GitHub page. The next, um, also if you notice, instead of using the test MQTT, I am using the Eclipse.org, the other broker. So I'm using it because it will also help us in testing this code with the codes that we have in Python. Now, this function here, this is just a callback function, or this is an event function which will be triggered whenever the broker responds the connection acknowledgement to our client. So once it receives the connection acknowledgement, it will just print the connected, and then after that, um, it will subscribe to the topic genre message, and then he implemented a callback function here with the parameter error, uh, which um, which just checks if there's an error or not. If there is no error after it subscribes, it will then automatically publish to the same topic, which is genre message, and payload is the hello MQTT. This other function here, this is the client on, then message. Actually, this is the part where it will receive the message. So it defines a function with a parameter of topic and message, or the payload. Actually, if you want, you can change this message to payload, but let's just leave it as is for now. Um, so here, the received message will just be printed out on the web console. So console.log, then message, then toString. So if you check in the output here, I will refresh it. Um, you'll see the index.js has printed out. So this one above, and then next it prints the connected. So I put here the connected, which means I was successfully connected to the broker. And then after it's connected, it subscribed to the topic January messages. And then after the subscribe, if there's no error, it will automatically publish. So it publishes to the topic January message with the payload hello. And then for this one, since it expects a message, it should print something. So that's why here it prints the hello MQTT, which is basically the message that it receives. Um, Now, aside from that, I added some functions here, which is for the publish button. This one, this is the publish button, and then for the input for the publish, or input for the topic or the payload to be published. So that's why here I defined a pub button, pub underscore button, which will just get the the element with the ID pub button. So if we go on the HTML, so it was just referring to this one. Um, let's try to view this together at once. Um, Split the editor. Okay. So here, um, this variable pub button here, um, it's just I was declaring a variable, and I am referring to the element here with the ID pub button. So this one. So I was referring to the button, publish button. And the other one, the bar pub input, I was also setting a variable for the input element. So this one, input here in the HTML. So it has the ID of pub input. So I am referring to this one. So after I declared these variables, I then defined for the pub button, I add some event listener uh, for the event click. So every time I click the pub button, it will execute this function here, which is basically, I just commented out these functions. But for now, what it will do is that if I click the publish button, it will then publish on the topic January message with the input or with the message or payload based on what I will enter on the input. So here, if I will type, let's say, a sample message, and if I click publish, so I should be able to print it out because I am also subscribing to the same topic. So right now you can see that it's working. In the next video, I will show you a demo. I will use my previous code in Python, and we will see that I'll be able to send an message between the console to the web.